So I was really craving a Spam musubi, but I don't have all the ingredients. So we're going to try to do a crispy rice with miso Spam over it, a miso barbecue sauce that is. If Spam's not your thing, go ahead, click off. This is a very Spam heavy recipe, so I totally get not everyone loves Spam. But we're going to actually use the Spam container here to mold the rice into the shape. That way the Spam will sit nice on top of it. So this is just some leftover sticky rice I have. I'm going to pack it in there real tight as you can get it in there because it will expand. And after you do that, I'm going to put it in the fridge for a couple of hours, and then about an hour before you're going to deep fry this, throw it into your freezer, and the freezing will help it stay together real nicely, especially during the cutting process. As you remember, the last time I made crispy rice, when I started to cut them, they kind of fell apart. So freezing is definitely important. But the fridge will help it lose some moisture, and then the freezer will keep it together. So here we are, a bunch of hours later. This has been in the freezer for an hour, and now it is a nice solid block. It doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart. It is still very fragile, so be careful when you're cutting it. It can crumble, but you'll have much better success. I'm going to cut one edge off here to just kind of make it flat. As you can see, that will crumble. Worried me a little bit, but it's totally fine. At this point, run that knife through. You could heat up the knife too if you want, but you'll get these nice even pushes through, and you'll get a beautiful piece that doesn't flake, doesn't crumble. Cut it as the thicker you cut it though, the easier it's going to be to use. So I got 3 nice size pieces out of that. I'm going to throw those back on a plate while my oil heats up to around 325, 350 Fahrenheit. And I'm going to put these back in the freezer. That way they stay nice and firm. While that all happens and the oil heats, I'm going to cut up my Spam. I'm going to do one full slab piece, and then I'm going to do another piece chopped up into little Spam bits, just to see which is nicer. I'm going for about 1/4 of an inch there. The other one I'm going to cut into real small dice. That way it lays all over the crispy rice real nice. You don't have to do this. It's just me testing to see which one I think I like better. That's the size bits we're going for there. Spam's really easy to dice too because you can cut it into real small pieces. Right before I deep fry it, I'm going to throw a little bit of cornstarch onto the plate. I don't know if this actually helps, but I've seen a bunch of people recommending cornstarch, potato starch. So I'm just going to put a little bit here on the plate, run them each through it so they have a little coating. I think it will help give them a little bit of a crisp, and it might also help refrain them from popping. You know, the moisture sometimes bursts when you pan fry them, but oil is right up to temperature now, right where I want it, around 325. So I'm going to drop these in, and they're going to cook for about 8 minutes. You're looking for a nice golden brown. The cornstarch will keep them on the lighter side, so just know that if they're not getting as brown as you want them, they may already be crunchy enough because of the cornstarch. But just monitor them. They're staying together beautifully here. They will have a tendency to kind of float together and stick. So if you need to, just go in and kind of move them apart. The longer they're in there, they will also float, which you'll see. So you do just want to kind of stop them from sticking together. This is after about 6 minutes, 5-6 minutes. You can see they're floating nicely. They'll land on top of each other. So just, yeah, be very attentive to them. Keep that. At this point, they're not going to stick together because they're fairly crispy now, but once they float and they look kind of like hash browns like this, that's right where I want to pull them. This is already crispy enough. You can go crispier if you want, but the outside is going to be very, very crunchy. The insides at this point are still nice and soft, which is good. So while those drain on a piece of paper towel for the oil, I'm going to cook the Spam. Spam cooks rapidly, so just do that separately. You don't want it to be sitting around for too long. I'm also going to put them in a fairly cold pan. I think that helps kind of render out some of the fat in the Spam, starting it low and then bringing it up to temperature. But just move those around. Fry it as if you're frying any piece of kind of, deli meat. Don't need to go too crazy with it. I'm going to, at the same point, come over and put a little bit of this miso barbecue sauce, which is the kind of the crux of the idea for me because I love this stuff so much. Put a little bit on that crispy rice, and then I'm also going to put some mayo on the crispy rice. This is Kewpie Japanese mayo. You could use regular mayo if you want, but I'm just trying to stay in the Japanese sort of flavor vein here. Keep moving that Spam around. Make sure it's not sticking. You want it to be somewhat crispy, but I'm going to, at the very end here, put a little bit of this barbecue sauce on it. There is a high sugar content in barbecue sauce, so this will caramelize and burn quickly. So pay attention to it and add it at the end. I'm going to put into the bits and keep them moving, and on the slab piece, I'm going to kind of just spread it around, flip it, and really pay attention to it and not let that sit for too long because it absolutely will burn because of the sugars in that barbecue sauce. So pay attention to it. Maybe 1 minute at most. Flip it back over, and you'll have a really nice kind of goldenish brown color. Similar color as the barbecue sauce. But right there is what you're looking for. That's been flipped. And we're good to go now. I'm going to start to assemble these. And let's see which one tastes the best. Laying that slab over the first piece sits on there beautifully because we use that as the mold. I'm going to put the bits on paper towel just to drain off any of the excess oil, and then we're going to lay those on top of the other one. I'm going to put a little extra barbecue sauce here onto the slab piece, just, you know, since I love it. You don't need to do this. Could be overkill. But now let's assemble the other one. Bits on. Try to stack them on there. They're going to have a tendency to fall off, but there you go. 2 different looking kind of crispy rices with Spam and a miso barbecue sauce. Let's dive into them, see which one tastes better. They're probably going to taste the same, but I felt like doing them 2 different ways. I'm going to leave some of the bite and chew sound in here. I know you all hate it, but I want you to hear how crunchy it is. It's exactly what I was looking for when it came to crispy rice. This has been my most successful venture into crispy rice. They taste about the same. I do think I prefer the slab piece just because the bites were easier. You didn't have pieces falling off, but this is fun. If you're a fan of Spam, it tastes real good with some crispy rice. So give this a try. Let me know what you think.